Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Crime drama Dane Clark starring in the short-run series Crime and Peter Chambers. This episode originally broadcast June 1st, 1954, and the story deals with Angela Wentworth's uncle.
Crime and Peter Chambers. Created by Henry Kane, transcribed and starring Dane Clark. Private investigator, duly licensed and duly sworn, Peter Chambers.
You're a private eye. That's your business. Anything else, that's for laughs. You're strolling along Fifth Avenue on a beautiful spring afternoon, and you stop at the window of Fitch's department store for a peek at the styles. And then suddenly, she's there beside you. A tall blonde with curves, an electric blonde with voltage. She looks undecided, seems as though she wants to say something, and, well, maybe spring has gotten into you. So you start the ball rolling with a depthless piece of dialogue. Beautiful day, isn't it?
Yes, lovely.
And the weather, it's perfect for strolling.
Yes,
May we stroll?
yes, of course. My name is Angela Wentworth.
I'm Peter Chambers.
We're going to call on my uncle, Mr. Chambers. We'll go there directly, if you don't mind.
Uncle, she says. We're going to call on my uncle. Well, it's springtime in Manhattan and the squirrels are out. But if that's the way she wants it, she's far too beautiful to argue with. So you accompany her to Madison, and in the elegant hotel, you ride up to the tower apartment, and she nibbles with delicate knuckles on a thickly impressive door.
My uncle isn't well. I don't want to wake him if he's sleeping.
Do you have a key?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I do.
Well, then let's use it, huh?
Oh, yes, I shall.
Inside, you get a back view of an old guy snoozing by an open window. You can't see his hands. They're in his lap. Angela taps you, and you tiptoe behind her into another room. She sits down and crosses her legs, and you've got trouble keeping your eyes away from her knees. But you manage.
Well, do you have it?
I beg your pardon?
Did you bring it?
Bring what?
The earring.
Earring? What?
Oh, where's my handbag?
Handbag. Well, here it is.
Oh, thank you.
There.
Here. Read this. A clipping which I tore from the personal column of the Times. Please read it. Out loud.
All right. Let me see now. If the lady who lost an earring at the art students' ball Friday evening will meet me in front of Fitch's department store Tuesday afternoon between 2 and 2:30, I shall be happy to return.
Now, do you understand?
Yes, I do, and I'm terribly sorry.
Sorry? But why?
Look, Miss Wentworth, I didn't insert that ad.
You didn't, but...
No, I just happened to be there, and, well, you were there, and, well, conversation sprang up.
Oh. It's funny.
Yes.
Really funny. But I do think you ought to go now.
She sort of starts you on your way, but on your way, you get another look at the old man, and suddenly you don't like it. He hasn't moved, and there's a white waxiness behind his ears. And you go near.
What is it, Mr. Chambers?
He's dead. She passes out in a faint, and you let her lie. You go around to the front of the old man, and you take a look. He's got a gun in his hand and 2 bullet holes in his stomach. You're working at your trade now, and you work quickly and carefully. The room's in perfect order, absolutely no sign of a tussle. The old man's still warm, hasn't been dead an hour. Then, toward the middle of the room, you see it. A round red spot that sort of blends in with the russet color of the rug. You touch it. It's blood. Then you go back to the old man, you dig around in his pockets. You come up with a beautiful triangular emerald earring. And just then, Angela Wentworth starts stirring. Easy does it, Miss Wentworth. Come on. Let me help you up. There you are.
Oh, my uncle. Uncle.
He's dead. He appears to have shot himself.
Oh, no.
Now, look. Let's go back to the other room, huh?
All right.
Come on. Now, there, will you sit down?
Thank you.
I'll use the phone. Operator. Police headquarters, emergency.
I only left him perhaps an hour ago.
Hello? Hello, I want to report a death. That's right, a death. 598 Madison Avenue, a hotel, the Tower apartment. All right, now, Miss Wentworth, there's nothing we can do but wait for the police.
Oh, it's terrible, terrible.
Look, I found this earring in your uncle's pocket.
Oh, thank you. It's the mate of the one I lost.
Well, what was it doing in your uncle's pocket?
That clipping. The person said they would return the lost one if I could identify it. So I brought the mate here to Uncle. Left it with him and intended to bring the finder here with me. Show him the mate to the earring, which would be perfect identification.
Is it valuable?
Each earring is insured for $20,000, but... Oh, look, Mr. Chambers, may I please call somebody?
Well, sure. Who do you want to call?
Oliver Hartford, my brother-in-law. He's married to my sister. He came here with my uncle. They live way up in New Hampshire, all of them.
What about you?
Well, I live here in the city. May I call Oliver?
All right. Where's he staying?
Right here, this hotel. One of the downstairs suites.
Well, let's call him. Would you connect me with Mr. Hartford, please? There you are.
Oh, thank you. Hello, Ollie. Come up to Uncle's suite. Quickly, please.
The guy shows. Oliver Hartford, big, young, and brawny. He sort of takes over in the comfort department for his sister-in-law. And presently, there's an onslaught of cops, medical examiner, fingerprint men, and the works. And boss man of the works, your good friend, Detective Lieutenant Louis Parker. Looking a little harassed today, but working with his usual competence. And then, after they're all done and the medical examiner has made his report and the body has been taken out, Parker takes you aside and you fill him in on your end of the deal.
Well, they got me working today. I got 3 unfinished cases. Now this thing pops up.
It never rains.
Medical examiner says suicide. The girls identified the gun as the old man's. M.E. says time of death, 2 o'clock. Door was locked.
Who else had keys?
Nobody but the old man. He lent his to the girl, and she was with you when the thing happened.
Check.
Suicide, period. Boy, I am busy today. Now, let me go in and talk to those 2, the relatives, and then I'll beat it out of here.
Sure, Louis.
Let me go talk to them. All right, then, Miss Wentworth, Mr. Hartford. Oh, by the way, Mr. Chambers here is a private detective, and one of the best. So, just in case either of you are not satisfied with the way the police may be handling this-
We're perfectly satisfied, Lieutenant, of course.
All right, then, let's get some of the facts out of the way. Name of deceased, Robert Wentworth, a rich man, ex-oil man, worth many millions, retired, widower.
Yes, his only 2 living relatives, his nieces. Miss Angela Wentworth, of course, my wife, Marie Wentworth Hartford.
Where's your wife now?
Why, she's at home up in New Hampshire. See, I came in with Uncle Robert last week.
Okay. Medical examiner says suicide, and every external item points to suicide. Time, 2 o'clock. Now, where were you at 2 o'clock, Mr. Hutt?
In my room, napping.
And you, Miss Wentworth?
With Mr. Chambers on 5th Avenue near Fitch's department.
I'll corroborate that, Lieutenant.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers.
You're very welcome, Miss.
Yeah,
Wentworth.
all right. Huh?
Sorry, lost my head.
Now, this suicide thing, would Mr. Wentworth be disposed to suicide?
Oh, yes.
No
well,
question
one at a
about
time.
that.
Now, please, one at a time, huh? You, Miss Wentworth.
Well, Lieutenant, my uncle was very ill. He was here for an operation. The doctors gave him very little chance.
Did he know that he had this very little chance?
Yes, of course he knew it. Better than any of us.
Yeah. Seems to be clean cut, no loose ends. Mr. Hartford.
Yes, sir.
Would you accompany me downtown? I need a member of the family, many little items of routine.
Why, yes, of course, Lieutenant, of course.
From June 1st, 1954, Crime and Peter Chambers on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
You ever make a change and then think, why didn't I do this years ago? Well, that's how people feel about switching to Medishare for their health care, especially now with inflation the way it is. People are very happy with the savings. Most families save about $500 a month when they switch. It's a huge help when prices are going up so fast in so many other areas. And Medishare's customer satisfaction rate is double that of health insurance. It's just a different experience, and people really like that. Medishare is an alternative to health insurance. It's a community of Christians who share each other's healthcare bills, and it's been going strong for over 25 years. It really is the gold standard, the most trusted name in healthcare sharing. Find out why people love it, find out why they rave about the customer service, and find out how good it feels to save some money right now. They're super easy to talk to. Here's the number, 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE, 833-34-BIBLE.
Crime and Peter Chambers filled the gap between the end of Rocky Fortune, starring Frank Sinatra, and the beginning of the next season on NBC. It only ran for 5 months, from April 6th until September 7th of 1954. Henry Kane creating the series, and it was specifically designed for Dane Clark. June 1st, 1954, Crime and Peter Chambers continues now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
And so you're alone again with Miss Angela Wentworth. You take her home to a cute little apartment on East 34th, and there...
Thank you, Mr. Chambers. You've been very kind.
Not at all. Look, Angela, ours was a chance acquaintance, but there's no reason why it should end there.
No? No reason at all. I like you very much, Mr. Chambers.
And, I like you. Look, a lawyer was mentioned back there. Was that the only person your uncle would want to see to arrange his affairs?
No, there was another, and much more important. Algernon Sacco, his business advisor.
Sacco?
He has an office down on Pine Street.
Bye now, Miss Wentworth. I'll be in touch with you.
Yes, please do.
Now, here's a brand new wrinkle. Algernon Sacco, crooked as a country road. A big operator and a shrewd one. You tangled with him a few times, but that was way back, before he acquired respectability and a few rich clients. An old cackle voice guy, but smart as a brand new whip. So, you're down on Pine Street, old stone and steel. No pines. No pines at all.
Yeah. Who do you wish to see?
Mr. Sacco, and tell him I'm in a hurry.
Nobody's in a hurry with Mr. Sacco.
I'm in a hurry. Use that little intercom of yours and tell him Peter Chambers.
Just a minute.
Yes?
Mr. Sacco, a gentleman here to see you. Says he's in a hurry. A Mr. Peter Chambers.
Who did you say?
A Mr. Peter Chambers.
Oh, of course. Send him in at once.
See what I mean, baby? I'm a real VIP.
That door to your right, Mr. Chambers.
Well, good to see you again, my dear private operator.
Alger, my boy, I shall not mince, as they say, words.
To the point, then, Peter.
Robert Wentworth.
Oh, excellent client.
Loaded?
$20 million.
Oh, boy, are you going to be sad to hear this.
Yeah, what?
He's dead.
Dead? You're kidding.
I never kid when it has to do with death. Now, look, I want the rundown on this guy, and I want it fast, and I want it all. Did he have a will?
Yes.
Well, come on, let's hear it.
The will left his entire estate to his 2 nieces, Angela and Marie.
Wow. $10 million each, huh? And who was the executor to this will?
Me, Algernon Sacco.
Pretty piece of change involved for Algernon Sacco.
Yes, now that he's dead, before he changed his will, I learned that pretty piece of change. Fees and commissions, it mounts up, it mounts and mounts.
Now, wait a minute. You just said before he changed his will. Did he have any intention of changing it?
Well,
Come on, look, pal. There might be a motive here for murder.
What you mean,
It's got its angles, but if it gets to the cops, it gets to the newspapers, and all your background gets washed up. Now, you can't use that algae, not the new, respectable Algernon Sacco.
What do you want to know?
Well, you know what the man says all the time. The facts, pal, the facts.
Well, he came in late last week and discussed changing his will. He felt that his nieces were well provided for, and he was making up his mind to leave his entire estate to medical research.
Did you like that?
No, I did not.
So what did you do about it?
So I got in touch with Oliver Hartford. After all, a change of will meant a loss to Mr. Hartford's wife of $10 million. And when your wife loses, you lose.
What did his Hartford do about it?
I don't know. But he was going to tackle the old man and see if he couldn't talk him out of it.
Okay, Algie, thanks for the information. Keep respectable, pal.
Peter Chambers!
You're working now. You're beginning to smell what you suspected. Murder. You get up to Angela Wentworth's place, and she opens the door for you, and your eyes pop. She's wearing blue silk lounging pajamas, and she has a pony of brandy in her hand. Blue silk lounging pajamas. They were born to be worn by Angela Wentworth.
It's good to see you again, Mr. Chambers.
Likewise, Miss Wentworth. You, seem to be rolling with the blow.
Well, I've been thinking about it. Uncle Robert was an old man and very ill. Perhaps it was for the best.
Look, at the ball you attended when you lost your earring...
Would you like some brandy, Mr. Chambers?
Well, I'll take a rain check on it. Now, that ball you attended, who went with you? I mean, who was your escort?
Oliver, my brother-in-law. Uncle insisted. I think I had one cocktail too many at that ball. That earring was gone before I realized it. Mr. Chambers? Mr. Chambers, where are you going?
You're going to pay a social call on Oliver Hartford. You knock on his door, and he opens, and you pull your way in.
Hey, what's the meaning of this? What's the matter with you?
Nothing. Just got no manners, I suppose.
Get out of here.
I'm going, but you're coming with me.
I'm going with you. Where?
Downtown, police headquarters.
And just what are we going to do there?
I'm going to accuse you of murder. Oliver swings, you duck. You swing, Oliver ducks. But he doesn't duck good enough. He goes down and out. And as you finish the pivot of your swing, there stands Detective Lieutenant Louis Parker in the doorway.
Real nice form, Pete. You're starting to get your shoulders into it.
Thanks, Louis.
Incidentally, apologies to the private eye.
From whom?
From me. I'm not busy anymore.
So?
So the old guy was murdered. He wasn't a suicide.
That's my Louis.
Got finished with the press of business, had time to think. If there's a spot of blood in the middle of the room, how come we find the old guy in the rocker by the window?
Exactly. He was shot in the middle of the room.
Yeah.
Then he was pulled over to the rocker, the gun was wiped and put into his hand.
Furthermore, downtown, a paraffin test shows the old guy never fired the gun, and that clinches it.
That figures. Where have you been till now, Louis?
Backtracking after you. Saw that Sacco guy, saw that Angela, read that newspaper clipping.
He took her to the ball, Oliver did.
Sure, and he stuffs her full of cocktails and clips the earring.
And sticks that phony ad in the paper.
So he can get her out of the way. Then he goes in to see the old man, bumps him with his own gun, fixes it for suicide, and leaves. And the door locks on the clicker, so we got a locked room in the bargain.
Well, what's our next step, Louis?
Well, we take this bum downtown. Let's get him back to consciousness. We take him downtown and see how he acts under a bright white light.
Oliver Hartford at headquarters gets closeted with Detective Parker and a host of excellent interrogators. You wait across the street in Luke McCool's Lonesome Bar and Grill. You sip on a stinger and you ponder. It figures for about 2 hours. Brother, when cops know you done it, and you're an amateur, you're a blustering wise guy for part of the way, but pretty soon you break wide open. Unless you're very smart or very stubborn. And you've got a feeling that Oliver may be very stubborn. So you're off and running, and you're making tracks again for Angela Wentworth's place.
Come in, Mr. Chambers. You're becoming quite a regular visitor. And I like it.
You like it too, but you don't have the time.
I offer brandy. Again, Mr. Chambers.
And again, I've got to refuse. Double rain check this time, Miss Wentworth. Now, look. That earring, may I have it?
The earring?
Look, may I call you Angela?
Oh, please do.
Well, you can trust me with it. I had it once, and I give it back to you, remember?
Yes, but why...
Please, let me have it, and I'll return it to you. And when I do, I've got a hunch I'll have the time for, perhaps a brandy or two.
All right, Mr. Chambers. Here it is.
And so you're back in Luke McCool's Lonesome Bar and Grill across the street from headquarters, and you're trifling with stingers again when Parker shows up. And he hangs a face in front of you that's longer than a lover's kiss.
Pete, boy, we've got us a tartar.
Meaning who?
Meaning that Oliver Hartford. Tough boy.
What's tough? The guy killed Uncle Robert so that his wife could pick up 10 million solid simoleons. There's no one else, Louis.
Dane Clark from June 1st, 1954, starring as Peter Chambers in Crime and Peter Chambers here on Classic Radio Theater. The conclusion, along with the conclusion of a yours truly Johnny Dollar story, follows these important words from your favorite station.
Radio? Why should I advertise on radio? There's nothing to look at, no pictures.
Listen, you can do things on radio you couldn't possibly do on TV.
That'll be the day.
All right, watch this. Okay, people, and now when I give you the cue, I want the 700-foot mountain of whipped cream to roll into Lake Michigan, which has been drained and filled with hot chocolate. Then the Royal Canadian Air Force will fly overhead towing a 10-ton maraschino cherry, which will be dropped into the whipped cream to the cheering of 25,000 extras. All right, cue the mountain. Cue the Air Force. Cue the maraschino cherry. Okay, 25,000 cheering extras. Now, you want to try that on television?
Well...
You see, radio is a very special medium because it stretches the imagination.
Doesn't television stretch the imagination?
Up to 27 inches, yes.
She was born in a humble shack amidst the lemon groves of Goleta, California.
Mommy, don't cry. You know what they say?
When life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
I was going to say life sucks, and then you die. But I like yours better.
And with that, Alexandra Johnson launched her lemonade stand.
Lemonade, nickel a glass.
Every day, even during the frigid California winters, a bone-chilling 72 degrees, you could find her.
You can have it sour, you can have it sweet. Little girl's lemonade will knock you off your feet.
The little girl with the sour brew wanted more, national distribution, franchises, and so she rolled out a well-budgeted advertising campaign.
Me and the rest of the dockwakers only drink little girl lemonade.
She was made president of the International Sour Drink Association and chosen to give the keynote speech at their convention.
You all set with words of wisdom, honey?
You know what they say, Mommy.
Always advertise so consumers think of your product first?
I was going to say never swallow a lemon seed or a watermelon on your tummy.
This fabricated but interesting story is to remind you that it's called advertising and it works.
Put your message on this national advertising platform by emailing classicradiotheater@gmail.com. classicradiotheater@gmail.com. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of Crime and Peter Chambers, starring Dane Clark. June 1st, 1954.
No one else could possibly have done it. Nobody with motive.
You're so right, boy. Angela, she was with you. Sacco, no question, he was in his office all day. The other niece, Oliver's wife, we've checked it. She's in New Hampshire. No question, we've got the right pigeon. We've got him right up to the break-in point, but he won't break. Pete, all I need is a gimmick, one little thing to shove him over.
And I've got it for you, Lieutenant.
Got what?
The crowbar that'll topple the rock. Only this crowbar is green, it's shiny, and it's worth $20,000. Here. Look.
Hey, that's a beauty. Where'd you get that?
Out of Oliver Hartford's suite.
No.
Yep. So, Louis, my lad, take this earring and shove it down his throat.
Gimme, pal.
So you're alone once more, and you've got your fingers crossed. Psychologically, it fits. But if it blows up, you're going to be in the middle of the explosion. If it blows, it'll blow all over you. But 20 minutes later, Park is back and he's beaming. He returns the earring and he claps you on the back. And a clap on the back from Parker is like a jolt to the jaw from Marciano.
Got him good. Full confession, the works. Broke him down completely. Oh, and now he's up the other alley pleading for leniency.
You tricked him, Louis.
I tricked him. No, not me. That's my pride. I'm a straight cop. I tricked nobody.
I know. So I had to trick you into tricking him.
What are you talking about?
The emerald earring.
What about it?
It's the wrong one. It's the one out of Uncle's pocket. The mate to the one that disappeared.
The wrong one? Well, then where's the right one?
Well, it must be where, psychologically, it ought to be. Now, you had the guy on the brink, Louis. There wasn't time to go looking for the right one, so I used the wrong earring for the right purpose, and it worked. So now...
Let's go find the right one.
You accompany Parker and 5 of his best boys to Oliver's suite, and they give it a professional going-over, and they come up with the earring. Inside, a cake of soap. Amateurs are all alike. They think they discovered a brand new hiding place just because they thought of it. Parker gives them to you, the pair.
Go ahead, kiddo. You return them. You may as well get something out of this. Glory, at least.
And so the private eye, in proper tradition, is back where he belongs, in the beautiful lady's apartment. He partakes of a bit of brandy, and then he presents her with a complete set of emerald earrings.
Oh, Mr. Chambers, I don't know how to thank you.
Think nothing of it, ma'am?
A fee. Would you perhaps accept a fee?
No, thanks. Nothing as mundane as a fee.
But I just don't know how to thank you.
Well, you think about it, Angela. Just sip your brandy and think.
Come here, Mr. Chambers.
Oh, I'm coming, ma'am.
I think I know what you mean. Something like this? Oh, Mr. Chambers.
And there you've had Crime and Peter Chambers. Dane Clark was starred as Peter Chambers. Crime and Peter Chambers transcribed was created and written by Henry Kane. Others in the cast were Bill Zuckert, heard as Lieutenant Parker, Joyce Gordon as Angela, and Bernard Grant as Oliver. It was directed by Fred Way. And this is Fred Collins inviting you to tune in next week, same time, same station, for Dane Clark in Crime and Peter Chambers.
Crime and Peter Chambers from June 1st, 1954 on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Are you suffering with arthritis or osteoporosis? Do you have diabetes? Did you know that these are just 2 of the hundreds of diseases that have seen improvement with Dr. Wallach's incredible longevity products? You can't get them at a health food store. The only way to get them is to call us at 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Do you have heart disease, fibromyalgia, or high blood pressure? Do you have a terrible time losing weight? Dr. Wallach can help. He was a veterinarian and cured diseases in animals. He felt that he could do the same for humans, so he became a physician. Over 50 years of research and helping people like you goes into every bottle of Dr. Wallach's amazing discoveries. Do you want to feel better? Learn how to treat the cause of your problem rather than covering up the symptoms with drugs. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065.
Alrighty, time to wrap up a yours truly Johnny Dollar story coming out of the Las Vegas area. This episode, Part 5, The Reasonable Doubt Matter, was originally broadcast June 1, 1956.
From Hollywood, it's time now for Johnny Dollar.
This is Mrs. Gramley, Mr. Dollar.
Oh, good.
I understand you were trying to reach me.
I just told your nephew Walter that if he didn't have you on this phone within 3 minutes, I'd be out there at the ranch with a posse of police.
Oh, I'm afraid there's some mistake, Mr. Dollar. You see, I I told Walter I didn't wish to talk with you.
You what?
I admire your persistence, young man, but
Are you saying this of your own free will? You're not being forced?
how ridiculous.
Who's there with you?
Just my nephew Walter and his wife Hilda. Surely
I'm
you
coming
don't-
out there, Mrs. Gramley.
Mr. Dollar, you were sent out here from Hartford to investigate an insurance trust I was arranging for my granddaughter. Well, I've decided not to set up the trust, so there's no further reason to involve yourself in my affairs. Good night, Mr. Dollar.
Hello. Hello.
What have you got cooking with the Gramleys anyway, Mr.
Shut up, Nicky. Let me think.
Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. From Special Investigator Johnny Dollar, location Las Vegas, Nevada, to the Home Office, Amercon Northern Trust Company, Hartford, Connecticut. Assignment, the matter of reasonable doubt. Expense account, final page. Item 12, 75 cents. I had a pint of black coffee sent in for Nikki Vernon, girlfriend of missing casino operator Deuce McCoy. She'd been overworking a bottle of scotch, and I figured the coffee would help clear the fumes. And it might have, if she'd drunk it.
No, take it away. I don't want any coffee.
I couldn't figure that phone call from Mrs. Gramley. She knew her nephew and his wife had been stealing from her. That's why she'd started to set up the trust to save the estate from them and turn it over to a young granddaughter, Susan. And she knew also, I told her, that Walter and his wife had probably contrived the auto accident that had killed Susan's parents. And yet now she seemed to have reversed her whole attitude. Maybe Jonas Parks had been right. Maybe there was a reasonable doubt as to her sanity. Maybe a lot of things. But all of the answers were out there at that ranch.
She's to blame for it. Things were all right with Deuce and me till she came messing around.
If it hadn't been Hilda, it would have been somebody else.
A whole lot you know about it.
Oh, why don't you drink some of that coffee, Nicky?
I don't want any coffee.
Okay, suit yourself. Go ahead and enjoy your broken heart, then. Kill the rest of that bottle if that's what you want. Cry up a storm. Live it up. Wallow in it.
I'll get that dame. It's the last thing I ever do.
For what? You ought to thank her for getting that rat off your neck.
What'd you have to turn him in for? Deuce never did anything to you.
He never had the chance.
Oh, what's he supposed to have done that's so horrible?
It's more what he tried to do.
Oh, sure.
You happen to know young Susan Gramley?
Yeah, I've seen the kid. Why?
Well, your lover boy phoned her out at the ranch earlier this evening, disguised his voice, said he was a friend of mine. He tried to get her to meet him on the old Boulder Cutoff out in the middle of the desert.
If you think Deuce would try to date up a 16-year-old kid, you're crazy.
Nicky, I think he was going to kill a 16-year-old kid.
It's her fault. Hilda Gramley. She and her sneaky little henpecked husband got Deuce mixed up in something.
I don't imagine he was very hard to mix.
That dame's been asking for it for a long time.
Yeah, I know, and you're about ready to give it to her. Well, forget it. Sober up, find the nearest exit, and then run like the devil.
I want Deuce.
So do the police. And they're the ones who are going to get him. They're covering the airport now, the depot, all the highways. Vegas is a tough town to get away from. He hasn't got a chance.
It's just as much your husband's fault. Why didn't he keep her at home? Why didn't he...
Oh, for the love of... You keep on playing that same old record, you're going to wear a groove right through your brain.
Maybe so.
Now, look, I got things to do. Are you going to be all right here alone?
No, I'm just fine. I never felt better in my life.
Then you've already got it halfway made. So why don't you double up and get even? Try some of that coffee.
You're a real busy guy, Mr. Dollar. You put the finger on a man with one hand, and at the same time you try to sober up his girl with the other.
Sure. And if I had a broom, I'd sweep the office.
Well, then why don't you go be busy someplace else?
That's exactly the idea. All right, kid, you're on your own. Good luck, Nicky.
Good luck? What do you care what kind of luck I have?
Oh, I don't know. I picked up my car and drove out across the desert toward the Flint Rock Ranch. I couldn't quite imagine Mrs. Gramley being intimidated. The idea of Walter and Hilda standing over her, holding a gun at her head and making her say things against her will was pretty unbelievable. Faced with a threat like that, she'd probably say, shoot and be blasted. It just didn't make sense. Apparently, she really had reversed her field. But I had to hear it from her face to face.
Who is it?
Johnny Dollar, open up. I said open up.
What's the idea? Mrs. Gramley told you to stay away from here, didn't she?
I don't know. There was static in the phone. I want to hear her say it again. You don't
What do you
mind
think
if
you're
I'm
doing?
coming in? All right, Walter, let's go talk to Mrs. Gramley.
Look, Dollar, you haven't got that much weight to throw around.
Suppose we get it straight right now and save a lot of time. I came out here to talk to Mrs. Gramley, and I'm going to talk to her. Now, if you want to go at it bare knuckle, let's get started. Or if you're thinking of that gun routine again, go ahead and pull it. I'm packing one myself. And if you're not going to make any kind of a move, then you just stand right there with your face hanging out while I go on in and talk.
What's going on in here, Walter?
Good evening, Mrs. Gramley.
Dollar won't take no for an answer. He just forced his way in.
I'm glad to find you looking so well.
I thought I'd made myself clear on the phone, Mr. Dollar.
Really? Come on, let's go on into the living room where we can all be more comfortable.
Come back here. I must insist that you leave at once.
Who was at the door? What are you doing here?
Well, if it isn't Hilda, the lovely lady who likes money, gifts, and excitement. Fine. That's why I came out, to stir up a little excitement.
I think you're taking a good deal upon yourself, Mr. Dollar.
You know, I'm a little surprised at you, Mrs. Gramley. I thought you wanted me to follow the case through.
There is no case.
Oh, since when?
You heard what she said. That's what you came for. All right, now beat it.
Down, Walter. Mrs. Gramley, are you telling me you're going to drop this whole thing, let this pair here edge you out and Susan along with you and take the whole estate?
You can put any interpretation on it you like. Just as long as you leave this house at once, and please don't come back. You have no right to interfere.
And what about your son and his wife? Have you forgotten that those two leeches there killed them?
You're out of your mind.
Am I? What do you think, Mrs. Gramley? Am I out of my mind?
I'm afraid you are. My son and his wife were killed in an automobile accident. A terrible tragedy, but unavoidable.
Sure it was, after Walter and Hilda here set it up.
Will you please leave now?
Have they threatened you? Is that it? Are you scared to talk? Because if you are, speak up. I imagine I can handle them.
You're being quite ridiculous, Mr. Dollar. Will you now go, please?
It beats me. It really does. If I hadn't...
I'll answer it. Hello? Who?
If that's for me, you better let me take it. They know I'm here.
All right, take it. Nobody's stopping you.
It was Will Connors on the phone. He'd been keeping in close touch with the police, and he was calling to tell me what had happened. Deuce McCoy had been arrested. He'd been picked up at the airport trying to board a plane and was being taken to the city jail. I hung up the phone and told the three of them what Will had said. That touched off the fuse.
Arrested? Deuce has been arrested?
At the airport? I don't get it.
But you will get it, Walter. Deuce will talk. He'll spill the whole thing. And I think we'll be able to make a case against you and Hilda even without Mrs. Gramley's testimony.
Susan, was she with him? Is she all right?
Mrs. Gramley, Susan has been in my hotel room with Will Connors for the last... So that was the hold they had over you.
They told me this man Deuce had phoned her and tricked her into meeting him.
Susan doesn't trick so easy. She called me
Get
and
your
I...
hands up, Dollar.
Oh, now it's a little late for a gun, Walter. You won't find it any easier to run than Deuce did.
He's right, Walter. Let me think. There must be some way...
Let you think. That's what I've been doing for the last 10 years, and you thought us right into this.
Walter!
The airport. You know what he was doing? He was running out. The kid didn't show. He knew something had gone wrong, and he was taking a powder. And not even telling me.
There's no time now
Left us here holding the bag. And now you say, let me think. Why didn't you think before? It was your idea, cutting him in on this.
Oh, she's got a lot of cute ideas.
Nicky.
She's a real little brain.
What the devil are you doing here?
Slumming, Mr. Dollar. The door was open, so I walked in. You mind?
Look, whoever you
Look,
are.
watch, sucker. I've seen guns before. Why didn't she use it on them? When they were playing you for their number one patsy.
What are you talking about?
Deuce McCoy. And that little sneak you're married to there. You mean you still don't know?
She's lying, Walter.
Don't you wish I was? They had you right in the middle, sucker. Deuce was taking it away from me on the tables, and little Hildy was getting it back from him after hours. I bet they got a lot of laughs out of it.
Better hand over that gun, Walter.
It's true, isn't it, Hilda?
Of course not.
Take a gun to him, huh? Well, maybe it's not too late.
Walter, what are you going to do?
Give me the gun, Walter.
Sure. Why not? I don't need it now.
He killed her. His own wife. Stood right there and shot her down in cold blood.
Would you call the police, Mrs. Greenlee?
Yeah, tell them to hurry right out. They can take me in on a real charge now.
I didn't mean for her to get killed.
You know something, Dollar?
No. Suppose you tell me.
That's the first big move I've made in the last 10 years. That Hilda didn't plan.
Expense account item 14, $305.20. Hotel and incidentals in Las Vegas and transportation back to Hartford. Expense account total, $596.45. End of account. Remarks? Well,
I can't figure out why she had to go messing around that way when she already had a man of her own, her husband. Of course, it didn't amount to much, but not many men do. What you expect to find in this world? Pearls in all her oysters? A turkey in her soup?
well, that was Nicky, and that's the report. And that's life. Come to think of it, though, what isn't? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Now, here's our star to tell you about next week's intriguing story.
Next week, Indestructible Mike, the most amazing character I ever met. A man with 9 lives at least. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. Written by Les Crutchfield, it is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone. Heard in our cast were Susan Whitney, Richard Crenna, Jeanette Nolan, Forrest Lewis, Inga Adams, Paul Richards, and Gene Tatum. Musical supervision by Amerigo Marino and Carl Fortina. Be sure to join us on Monday night, same time and station, for another exciting story of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Roy Rowan speaking.
A really good 5-episode arc of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Next week's is even better, because Indestructible Mike is none other than Howard McNear. And you're going to love this. This will be a good one. I've heard it, and it is fun. It's also frightening to realize, well, I'm not going to tell anything here, just to say that Howard McNear probably survives. That's all you need to know. From June 1st, 1956, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. And if you like these shows, you know they're all available at a very reasonable charge from Ted over at RadioMemories.com. So many of these shows are sold by vendors that are of marginal or okay quality. Well, Ted does his best to restore the shows as best he can and make them so that you'll be able to enjoy them. RadioMemories.com. You can learn more by going to my webpage, classicradio.stream. Stream our shows on demand. Learn more about classic radio collecting. And you can also contact me there. And if you like what we do here, you can drop me a tip in the tip jar over at classicradio.stream. And, of course, you can always hear our shows anywhere podcasts are served, including Spreaker, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Amazon. Just search for Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Please thank this station. Support their advertisers. It's their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every time we roll around here on your favorite station. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. That's me, here on your favorite radio station.